My name is Jeffrey Brown and I'm the inventor of the distillation controller for use with the T500 reflux still. The purpose of this video is to show you some of the basic connections in order to get it all connected up and operational, and some of the features so you get a bit of an insight in terms of what it can do. So what we've got here is a T500 reflux head, which has a condenser and the actual reflux column itself. The distillation controller, you'll see, has a connection for the power to the still, so it can control that. A wiring loom that has a power connector for the water pump, and also a temperature sensor, and also the power in which supplies power to both the still and the water pump. So the connection on the back, you'll see, makes use of a couple of plastic clips to help you align it on the condenser column, but you should put the metal saddle on, which is the only guaranteed way of holding it. There's also a speaker here for the audible alerting that occurs during the foreshot user wait phase, and that's essentially it. So the connection process has been designed to be done all through the controller in order to keep it as tidy and simple as possible. So we just attach the controller on with the plastic clips, and then get the metal saddle on the condenser column, and the wing nut just tightens that down. Now once you've got that attached, you can of course rotate that to wherever you want and move it up and down. You've got on the wiring loom, as I said, the temperature sensor, which will go into the water outlet on the T500 reflux head, and then this goes to the water pump. Now the power adapter that you get with the water pump is not needed anymore because everything is, as I said, powered from here. Once you've got that connected, the next thing you'll need to do is, with the main part of the still itself, with the heating element, connect that up to the still. And this is so that during operation, it can shut off the still at any point if there's a fault. And that includes, for example, the water supply stopping. It'll cause an over-temp condition, which will cause it to cut off and cut the power. And also at the very end, or assuming all goes well, it needs to be able to power off the still, so it shuts the power off. So that is very important, that the still itself must be connected in here. And if you do not have it connected in, you will see at the startup of the controller that it will complain that the still is not connected. So that basically completes the connections for the distillation controller. We now have the normal connections in terms of plumbing in order to get the water flow going everywhere. So the first one we have is the water in, which in this case is an attachment designed to go on a hose pipe connector. So that goes into the nylon connector into the still spirits water flow pump. We then have the water outlet from the water flow pump, which goes into the bottom of the condensing column, which is this tube here. I'll just rotate this down a bit so you can see that. Yeah. And that goes in there first to ensure that the condensing column, which is the small one, gets the coldest water possible. That will then go through the condensing column and then through the reflux head and come out, which is this connection point here. And this would then go to your drain. So that completes the process of the plumbing being connected. You would then power on the distillation controller with the one mains cable that's needed. Yeah, and the all going well, the still would then start heating up and go through the whole programmed process. Now the process that it goes through has about 25 parameters that you can control, and from a distillation point of view, that includes of course things like the temperature at which the reflux head is operating, what sort of level of water saving you want during the heating phase, and other technical details in terms of the operation of the interface on here. As it comes, it basically is set up for fairly basic operation, but you can tweak that and change that to your heart's content. That pretty much completes the setup of the distillation controller. And as you can see, because you don't have a power adapter for the water pump, hopefully that can be seen that makes everything simple. You don't have two power points being used, one for the still and one for the controller. You just got one because everything goes through this one cable. And so what we've got here is a close-up showing some of the basics of the operation of the device. At the moment, it is not connected up to the distillation controller, and I'm about to power it on. So the first thing we should see is the message about still not being connected. So first up, it'll do some checks to make sure everything is working. So this was the opportunity just there very briefly to undertake touchscreen recalibration if it's needed. You'll see it's reporting that it still is not connected to the controller, and you've got a little emoji which will give you an indication as to whether or not it's happy or not with whatever's happening. So what I'll now do is connect that up. And once connected, you'll see it now proceeds onto the heating phase. You'll also possibly be able to hear the sound of the water pump being engaged, and that will come on and off periodically in order to conserve water during the heating phase. And over here we've got the current temperature. You also get a bit of a summary here in terms of what has actually happened so far, and get a few more stats here in terms of average temperature, minimum and maximum, and the water pump. So the water pump will keep on periodically pulsing, and the speed at which it goes and the duration for which it goes is all part of the configuration settings. So I'll just leave that for a moment and we'll see the water pump kick in again. At this point you may not be able to hear it, but the still is starting to heat up. There we go, and so we've got the water pump at 500. The maximum speed of the water pump is 1023, so that gives you an idea that it's going approximately half speed. You'll also see down here you have an indication of what the heating time is allowed, and once again that is yet another configurable option. All of the configurable options are accessible through the config menu down the bottom right here. In some screens, like the foreshot removal screens, you cannot do any configuration and it will say no config down the bottom right. But in this case here, we can click on that and you'll see we get a number of options. So for example, under heating values, I could set the heating pump maximum time allowed in minutes. It's currently 100, so an hour and 40 minutes. I can change that, and any changes that you do here will automatically take effect. So essentially you can change what's happening in a distillation run as it's occurring. Yep. So you'll see now it's 110 minutes, which is an hour and 50, and we've been going for 2 minutes of heating, and you'll see the smiley faces all very happy. Now if you want to make a change that you have made permanent, you just want to go back into config, and you'll see down the bottom here save current settings to EEPROM. If you click on that, it returns out. You'll get a message down the very bottom here saying storing EEPROM general settings, and that will now take in effect for now and evermore until you change it again. Okay, once the heating phase is completed, which is denoted by it getting to 40 degrees Celsius, or whatever you've got configured, what will happen is it will then wait for the user, and you will then get audible alerting. Now in this example video, what I've done is remove the temperature sensor and have got a cup of warmish water, so I'll pop that in, and what we should see is once it gets to about 40 degrees, which is shown in the top right, it'll then switch to foreshot removal. Okay, and this is where it's waiting for the user, and every minute you'll get an alert. Once again, this is also configurable how long it waits, and this is a trade-off between, I guess, wasting power and water and giving the user more time to turn up. So this is the last point which the user is actually required for. The rest of the process after the foreshot removal will be all automatic. So the idea here is that the user comes along, touches the screen. Up until that point, it will keep the temperature at 40 degrees or below by increasing the water flow through the reflux head, thereby stopping distillation. And when you touch the screen, it now begins removing toxins. So this will then cause the still to increase to its normal distillation temperature of 60 degrees, and the user then collects off whatever they normally take off as foreshots, which is usually sort of 70-ish mils. Once that is finished, they then touch the screen again, and you'll see there's another time limit for doing that, which is also configurable, and then you go into the main distillation phase. So here it'll just maintain the temperature at the set temperature you want and run until the distillation time has elapsed. If we go back into config, you'll see here under distillation values that we have distillation runtime, which is 241 minutes, which of course is 4 hours and 1 minute, which is what you were seeing. Okay, and that will just keep on counting down and complete the rest of the distillation. There's a separate video which shows you how good the temperature regulation is, and this has all been tuned to the T500 still. So that pretty much completes the process, and once again you've got emojis showing you what's happening along the way.